is 0 hour 30 Universal Time. I'm Jim Tedder in Washington. The International Atomic Energy Agency plans to present its findings on the Iranian nuclear program to the UN Security Council Friday. If the report says Iran is processing uranium, then the Security Council could approve restrictions against Iran. Iran's ambassador to the UN said Thursday that his country would not feel that it must obey any decision by the Security Council. Earlier Thursday, Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice said the Security Council must be ready to act if Iran fails to end its nuclear activities. The next Iraqi prime minister has held talks with top Shiite religious leaders. On Thursday, Nouri al-Maliki met with the Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani in Najaf. Mr. al-Sistani called for all armed groups to disarm. The top Shiite religious leader said only government security forces should have weapons. Later, Mr. al-Maliki met with Shiite religious leader Muqtada al-Sadr. After the meeting, the Prime Minister said that the armed groups should join with the Iraqi military. In other news, gunmen in Baghdad have shot and killed a sister of Iraq's Sunni Arab Vice President, Tariq al-Hashemi. His brother was killed in a surprise attack earlier this month. At least 20 people were killed across Iraq. Most of the victims died in the city of Baquba. 4 European soldiers died in a bombing in southern Iraq. Rebels in Nepal have declared a 3-month truce. Rebel leader Prachanda says his forces will not attack government targets. He said they declared the truce to show their support for the Nepalese people's wishes for peace. Earlier, Nepal's newly appointed Prime Minister, G.P. Koirala, announced that Parliament will set elections for representatives to write a new constitution. Also Thursday, King Gyanendra officially named Mr. Koirala as Prime Minister. Mr. Koirala is expected to be confirmed when Parliament meets Friday for the first time since 2002. Chinese President Hu Jintao arrived in Kenya late Thursday for the final stop on his 3-country trip to Africa. Mr. Hu is expected to sign several agreements with Kenyan officials. Earlier in Nigeria, the Chinese leader called for joint efforts by China and African nations. Nigeria has agreed to give China permits to drill for oil in exchange for a $4,000 million investment in the country. Also Thursday, China's Foreign Ministry spokesman in Beijing denied accusations that China closes its eyes to human rights violations in countries such as Sudan. The spokesman would not comment on China's refusal to vote on United Nations restrictions against 4 Sudanese accused of war crimes. President Bush has announced that the United States will place restrictions on the possessions of people connected to the conflict in Sudan's Darfur area. In a statement Thursday, Mr. Bush said the action answers threats to national security and foreign policy created by the situation in Darfur. The restrictions cover money and property. So far, it affects 4 Sudanese, whom the United Nations has condemned for their activities in Darfur. You are listening to the news in VOA Special English. Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak says his country will win the war against terrorism. Mr. Mubarak said that Egypt would use the full force of the law to defeat terrorism. On Monday, 3 bomb attacks in Egypt's Sinai area killed at least 18 people. On Wednesday, 2 bombers attacked foreign peacekeeping troops and police in the northern Sinai. The bombers were the only ones killed in those attacks. Also Thursday, Egyptian Prime Minister Ahmed Nazif said that officials believe the attackers were local, young ethnic Bedouins. He said they could have acted without any foreign help. The group Doctors Without Borders reports that the disease cholera has killed more than 900 people in Angola in just 10 weeks. In a statement released Thursday, the group criticized operations to stop the disease. It called on the Angolan government and international aid groups to do more to stop the disease from spreading. An international rights group has urged countries to offer to jail former Liberian President Charles Taylor if he is convicted of war crimes. A Human Rights Watch official said more countries should be offering to take the former Liberian leader. The United Nations has asked Austria, Denmark, and Sweden to provide prison space if Mr. Taylor is convicted. So far, none have agreed. Mr. Taylor is facing trial for war crimes at a United Nations court in Sierra Leone. However, that court has asked that his trial be held in the Netherlands. Officials in the Netherlands say the trial can be held there only if he is sent to another country if he is found guilty. In Belarus, courts have sentenced opposition leader Alexander Milinkevich and several of his aides to jail for taking part in an illegal march. Milinkevich and 2 others received 15-day jail terms. Officials in Minsk had approved the demonstration Wednesday. However, a march to the demonstration was not permitted. The protesters denounced the rule of President Alexander Lukashenko. The European Union has expressed concern about the court rulings. Construction has begun on a new building where the World Trade Center buildings once stood in New York City. The Freedom Tower building will be 541 meters tall. It is one of 5 tall buildings that will be built near a memorial to victims of the September 11, 2001 attacks on the United States. Briefly, here again is the major news of the hour. The International Atomic Energy Agency plans to present its findings on the Iranian nuclear program to the UN Security Council Friday. The next Iraqi Prime Minister has held talks with top Shiite religious leaders. And rebels in Nepal have declared a 3-month truce. And that's the news in VOA Special English. From Washington, this is Jim Tedder reporting.